Hi guys, Epix here. In one of my last videos I reviewed the functionality of the arcade VGA card and showed people how to configure mass INI files for the majority of games that pre-configures the games to the right resolution for use with the arcade VGA card. That's great for a lot of games, but for some games it doesn't quite tweak it right, because what it does is it tries to approximate the resolution. Doesn't always hit them right, particularly in vertical games. As you can see with my cab here, just taking a back shot, it's a horizontal cab. So I've got my monitor left to right in horizontal. Of course there's vertical games, and vertical games were played on a vertical monitor, so the monitor was put into a vertical orientation inside the cabinet. Now those games still play fine on a horizontal monitor, particularly a large one like mine, which is a 27-inch Wells Gardner. So the vertical ones are almost the same size as they were natively on a 27-inch, because a lot of those games use 19-inch monitors in vertical position, and that's pretty much what mine approximates as a 27-inch in horizontal. So I'm not losing out a lot on the vertical games. Mind you got to put up with the bars on the side, but for me, you know, I play just as many, if not more, games horizontal, and a lot of the console emulation and computer emulation that I'm into is also horizontal. So for me, horizontal is my preferred kind of monitor orientation. So I want to get into that, but before I do that, I just want to kind of touch on one of the other things that I've had a lot of people message me about and asking me about is control panel layouts. I know with my first arcade cabinet, I tried to throw everything possible on my control panel, and rightly or wrongly, you know, it was a bit cluttered. Now, people would look at my control panel and say, dude, it's still pretty cluttered. You know, you got a lot going on there, and you know what, that's true, but ultimately you're doing it for yourself, and you got to make yourself happy. And you know what, I play trackball games, I play spinner games, I play two-way joystick games. About the only concession I really made on this cabinet, in my opinion, was the lack of a Tron style joystick. But you know what, I like Tron, but there weren't enough games to take advantage of that type of a joystick that I couldn't play. Like, here's another example, Satan's Hollow. Satan's Hollow also uses a Tron style joystick, and you know what, to me it plays perfectly fine with my existing joystick, just as a two-way game, very much like a Galaga. So there's not enough of a difference for the sake of authenticity for me to have gone that route. So, you know, I compromised as much as I could to keep it clutter-free, but at the same time I wasn't going to give up a trackball or a spinner. So what I've done here, I've got two Sanwa JLW8s. They're modded, the J-stick from Andy at Ultimark, and they're also modded further with these cool ball tops. I don't have the lighting on right now, but everything lights up. The buttons light up, the joysticks light up, and the trackball lights up. The trackball is an RGB, but I've got it set to green, so everything has a cool green light to it, which is kind of nice showing people the cab for the first time. But admittedly, most of my playing, I do it with the lights off, because it is distracting when you're playing. You got a lot of glow up in your face. I want to concentrate where I need to concentrate, and that's on the game screen. But again, I'll just tell you what they do real quick. So I've got my left joystick set permanently to 8-way, and I've got the right set to 4-way. And what Andy at Ultimark does with his sticks is he does a slight modification on the base of the sticks at the restrictor plate, allowing you to easily rotate them. So you can rotate between 4 and 8-way. And how I do that is just opening the coin door, I reach my arm up and rotate the restrictor plate clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on what I'm trying to do, 4 or 8-way. So again, generally I leave the left at 8-way, and I put the right stick into 4-way mode. And I do that because 4-way games, in my opinion, just, you know, they are playable with an 8-way, absolutely. But if you're playing a game like Ghosts and Goblins or Ghouls and Ghosts, Donkey Kong even, you really want that 4-way restriction. It's good for hitting ladders, it's good for shooting, jumping, a lot of things that you need to do in a four-way game that requires that four-way precision. You really notice the difference when you're playing those games with a stick in true four-way as opposed to using an eight-way. So again, I leave that in eight-way, I leave this in four-way. I do make exceptions. Exceptions being when I play Robotron, Crazy Climber, games that require two eight-way sticks, I'll go in through the coin door and I'll switch this four-way to an eight-way. The other exception, if I'm playing with my daughter or my friends, and it's a game that requires two eight-ways in two-player mode, like Street Fighter, any of those types of games where they need to be in eight-way, I'll switch this to eight-way. But it's rare enough because the majority of games that I play, the older games or the shooter games, I'm going to be on either the eight-way or the four-way, or it's going to be a two-player eight-way or a two-play four-way that just rotates the same stick between player 1 and 2. Like Ghosts and Goblins, it was four-way, and in two-player, you both just take turns on the same stick, right? So that covers the majority of my gaming, switching the sticks like that. I've chosen to go with 6 buttons. I had 8 buttons on my first cab and my second cab, but I found that I was rarely using those, the 7th and 8th button. The exceptions were when I was doing console emulation. And I can get by with the 6 buttons for most consoles. So, sure, the SNES had the shoulder buttons and the 7th and 8th button helps, but I've been able to get by with some of my other control buttons. All right. And then I just got the player 1 and 2 start buttons on here. The spinner, which is the turbo twist that I reviewed in an earlier video, and my favorite trackball, which is the X Gaming trackball. It's a Betson Imperial clone, and what I love about this is it's top mountable, so I can flush mount it. You can see there's no bolts on either side. Typically you'd have 4 bolts around the trackball. I flush mounted those underneath the laminate so you can't see them. But my all-time favorite feature with the trackball would have to be the fact that it comes pre-wired with 3-button mouse support. And it's identified, as far as your computer is concerned, as a USB mouse. All right. And what I've done is underneath the lip of the control panel, you can't see them all here because they're dark, but just underneath the lip, there are 5 buttons here. The rightmost button is the power button for the arcade cab. I've got my computer set up for detection of AC power, so I shut it down, and I can either activate this button to turn my computer on, or just plug in the arcade cabinet or turn the power bar onto the arcade cabinet and the computer boots up automatically. The far left 2 buttons are just your mouse left and right, and then the second 2 buttons are player 1 and player 2 coin. But I've also got the coin door set up to accept quarters. So if I want to be real authentic, I can just throw quarters in there. In fact, I try to do that as an incentive for working out. Do 5 minutes on the bike, and every 5 minutes I get a quarter. And get $10 in there, and then completely destroy my workout by buying beer at the end of the week. But whatever, it's an option, even though I use the player 1 and 2 coin most of the time. All right. So the main thing I just wanted to touch on was how I've got my controls set up. In the second video, I'm going to go into a bit more detail on the actual tweaking of MAME games under MAME if you're using an arcade cabinet. All right. And before I do that, the other thing I just wanted to show you here on the desktop, how I'm set up, and I'll see if I can pan back a little bit. But I'm a huge console and computer geek, so I've got everything from Amiga emulator, right? Commodore 64 emulator, PlayStation, NES, SNES, you name it. I've got them all set up on my desktop. I, again, could do that with Hyperspin or something, but I do a lot of file copying and things. I'm always changing games up. So for me personally, it works best to just have complete Windows computer functionality on my arcade cab as opposed to using a front end. All right. Thanks very much, and like I said in the second video, I'm going to go into a bit more detail on tweaking the individual games.